Hello, this is Liberty Mark 222. I just finished working out. I figured it's a good time to make videos on the road because that's about the only time I can do it. And I'm getting tired of... It seems like people just don't have an idea of what's going on. And this is a really critical time in our history. And anyway, I was thinking about illegal immigration and this whole idea of opening up the border of the United States to, basically, I mean, they've already done it. They've already made the United States and Canada and Mexico one country. It's just the United States people don't know that yet. They didn't tell us, that basically they destroyed the borders. And so, and it's the thing is that the United States people can't go to Mexico. It's just kind of a one-way street where the Mexicans come to America, unless you're rich, of course. If you're rich, you got the resources, you could live down there. And there's different people like Jeff Berwick. He's living down in, I don't know, Acapulco or Chile or something. I'm not sure where he is, but so I think the way I look at it is that if you're not going to enforce your laws evenly, right? You're not going to enforce illegal immigration. You're not going to enforce citizenship, in other words. Then how can you enforce citizens to pay their taxes? And that's a pretty basic thing. How can you enforce citizens to, like for instance, like in Detroit, half the people there in the city don't even pay taxes. So the whole city is going to pot. That's a very bad thing, But see, the reason that is because there's a different standard for blacks and white in this country too. Blacks, whites, and Hispanics. And blacks get treated way different than white people do. I mean, that sounds like a very racist statement, but that's what it is. We have standards. We got, you got the token black person on all the TV shows, or anywhere you work, you have to have a certain amount of black people and women, whether they're qualified or not. And a lot of times, they don't work nearly as hard as the white people. I mean, that sounds terrible, but that's what I've experienced. I worked at a place where most of the people were black, and it seemed like I was doing a lot more work than the people that were black. So I'm not trying to say that that's just what it was, and I mean, my attitude is I'm just going to work as hard as I can wherever I am. I don't care who's there or what, it doesn't really matter. And I think it'll come out in the wash eventually. But I think people will recognize when you're working hard, when you're trying hard. I know that happens. And that's why I'm working at this pizza place, because I'm tired of working at places where they don't reward you for hard work, And I think maybe I'm not as good as some of these other workers. I'm not as fast and quick, and I make some dumb mistakes sometimes. Like I messed up the temperature on the pizza oven yesterday. Messed up a bunch of orders. But that's who I am, and I don't know. I can't change myself very well. I can try to do the best I can, but that's the way it is. So anyway, I was thinking about this King Alaric. He is the king of the Goths, the Visigoths. And it seems like such a similar situation. The Romans they had a border. Their border was the Danube, and that's a very easy border to defend. There weren't that many crossings, and anyway, the Visigoths, they were being attacked by other bands, other what do you call tribesmen, I guess, and they appealed to Rome to let them cross the Danube, and so Rome allowed them to cross the Danube, and but then they just sat them there. They didn't give them any land. They didn't have any food. They started starving to death. And the Romans had all their troops outside of the capital, outside of Rome. They were on the border. They were out there in France and the Middle East and, you know, all over North Africa. And so the Alaric decided to attack Rome just to try and get his land. And then they didn't. I think the Caesar, he was living in I think it's Venice. And anyway, they didn't give him, they didn't comply to their demands, and so Alaric ended up sacking Rome, and that was kind of the demise of the beginning and the end of the Roman Empire. So I see the Rio Grande is a type of border there, and we've allowed all these 30 million Mexicans into our country. So they're proposing to let all of them have amnesty and to get food stamps and welfare, and they say it's going to cost like $7 trillion, some crazy amount of money. I mean, I remember, you know, you read Solomon, he says there's nothing new under the sun. Everything's been done before. And so everybody thinks, oh, this is something new. This is, you know, I listen to people that hate history. They don't like to read history. Oh, that's dumb. I don't like that. But it's kind of interesting because I think the top watch show on cable is the History Channel. So there are a lot of people that really like history, but we got a lot of people that don't know history at all. Don't know geography, just ignorant, you know. And I think the reason I learned a lot of history was just reading the Bible. You know, you read, you know, Daniel and in the Old Testament, and you hear about the Babylonians, and you hear about the Greeks and the Persians, and you're like, you know, what is this all? It doesn't make sense. You know, you want to study these things just to understand the Bible a little bit more. And then, you know, just like the New Testament, you want to know about the Roman history and like the church history and all that, and it just opens up. It's like when you have a framework to understand history, then it's a lot easier to understand history. It doesn't become so random. It has a progression. It has a logical beginning and end and whatnot. And you know, you see the rise and fall of different countries. The Roman Empire is like the best history lesson you could ever have, is to study the Roman history. But and that's why when I'm talking about Alaric and the, you know, let the Goths across the Danube, this is not some kind of, you know, unknown thing. This is very well known, very well researched. And so people that know anything about history, our politicians and whatnot, I'm sure a lot of these people know all this kind of history. And I just think that they're doing this on purpose. You know, they want to basically destroy this country. Now, I mean, I guess you got enemies that are running our country, basically. It's very sad to see that. You know, that we have people that would they don't care about our people. They care about themselves. They care about. But then, like in the Old Testament, it talks about how when you had Rehoboam, he was the son of Solomon, and his advisor said, you need to lighten the taxes, and his young friend said, no, we're going to be more strict. Your father's finger, or our finger is as thick as your father's waist, or something like that, and we're going to scourge you with scorpions, and we're going to make it really rough for you. And so it was just stupidity. It's pure. And then all the Israelis, they say, when they heard that, they say, every man to his own tent. And the northern tribes ended up splitting away from the southern tribes, from Judah and Benjamin. So that's how you get the two splits. Well, when you tax people really high, you end up getting civil wars. You end up getting divisions of countries, because people are like, we can't take this much taxes. And believe me, we're getting taxed like crazy. When the Federal Reserve is just printing money like crazy, that's a huge tax. I mean, what else is it? They're not taxing us directly. They're just debasing our money. And the Romans did that time after time after time. They would clip the coins. They would recall the gold and the silver, and they would. It got to the point where the silver coins became. It was like one silver coin, a dime, about the size of a dime, was worth a day's wages. Well, then it got to the point where they made them so that they were just basically dipped in silver. It was just, they had electroplated the outside of it so it looked silver, but it wasn't silver. It was just a base coin, just like the gold. They mixed it with copper and brass, and they made, the gold wasn't worth as much as it was before. Well, see, I guess the people think that they're more sophisticated by just printing a bunch of money and spending it like crazy for the government, and it's ended up going into the stock market. They're pushing a ton of money into the stock market. It's got all-time highs here and there for no reason except that they're just printing money, and I mean, they're going to make a huge bubble out of the stock market, and then that thing's going to pop. There's nothing new under the sun, and, I think when people realize that we have rulers that don't care about them and are out to actually kill them, we have rulers that think that we should only have 500 million people on this planet. Well, where's the rest of everybody going to go? Well, they got these plagues. They got these super bacterias and viruses and whatnot that they're going to let loose, and it's going to kill a whole bunch of people. And, they want to start a war in the Middle East. They're bombing Syria through Israel. Israel's used their jets and bombed Syria. I mean, it is just so, it's just going to be a bunch of death and destruction. We got the United States paying Al-Qaeda to fight Syria. It's insane. Everything's insane. How do we, how does it work this way? Anyway, this is Liberty Mark 222.